Happening right now, Hurricane Ian is bringing heavy rain and wind to our area. Here's a live look in Greensboro where a tree has fallen on a townhouse. We'll take you there in just a moment.
Hundreds of people in the Triad are without power right now. Duke Energy has linemen ready to go. Stick with us for outage checks every 15 minutes.
Ian did make landfall in South Carolina just within the last couple of hours. This is a live look in Folly Beach where actually the storm has moved past. The waves are getting pushed out of view. Those winds, though, are headed our way. You probably already noticed it.
Welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Chad Silver here with Lauren Coleman and Tim Buckley. Obviously, all eyes are on Ian. We are under several states of emergency at the state, county, and city level.
Ian is expected to bring heavy rains and winds to our area. Tim, what's the latest?
Yeah, so, most of the day so far, early on into the morning and the midday hours, things weren't that bad here. We have the rain, we have the gusty winds, but overall you could still kind of do what you like to do. You probably noticed over the last hour, things have started to change a little bit and go a little bit downhill. Hurricane Ian, we're still waiting on the latest stats from the Hurricane Center, but it did officially come ashore right there in Georgetown, South Carolina, which is about halfway between Myrtle Beach and Charleston. You can see it on the wide view. It is a spinning tropical system moving our way. And you might not realize this, but the center of the storm is expected to move over Greensboro, the center. Later on tonight, we're expecting the worst of it between around 6 p.m. and midnight. But right now the center is over Myrtle Beach. They have been dealing with a very bad problem called storm surge. You hear us talk about it only when there are hurricanes, but that's when the wind pushes the ocean onto the beach. It's been really bad in places like Pawleys Island, Myrtle Beach, Brunswick County, Oak Island, Holden Beach having issues. The most common question I've gotten today from people, Tim, are we going to get tornadoes? Absolutely not. There is 0% chance of that in our area, but it is a very high chance in eastern North Carolina. It's too cold here. Temperatures are in the 50s right now. Rain is steady at the moment. It had been intermittent, but it is picked up. These heavier rain bands will continue to move throughout the rest of the evening. What I'm showing you right now is a steady wind. These are sustained winds right now, 15 to 25 miles per hour, but the gusts have been higher than that. These are the highest gusts I've seen so far today. We expect them to continue to climb a little bit over the next few hours. We're gusting about 35 to 45 miles per hour at this time. That will continue to go up. You can see right now our sky cameras are kind of bumping a little bit in the breeze at times as the storm center moves overhead later on tonight. Again, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. or so is when we expect the worst of that system. There are your rain bands that continue to move through. This is midnight. By 2 a.m. the rain starts to shut off, and at that time the wind will start to shut off. We're expecting the worst of it to be in that late evening, and then when you wake up tomorrow morning, conditions are improving. So if you can, it's a good night to kind of stay put and hunker down, if you will. It doesn't mean get in your bathtub or your safe spot. You just need to stay inside. We're gonna have this windy weather that could continue to cause issues like downing trees. We've seen that already in parts of the Triad. In fact, our Grace Holland is in Greensboro right now. We've been trying to see where the problem spots have been so far in the Triad today. Grace, what are you seeing on scene in Greensboro right now?
This is the biggest problem spot that we've seen so far today, Tim. This is on Regents Park Lane. This large tree was brought down by winds earlier this afternoon. Neighbors tell me they're pretty surprised that this was brought down already. They didn't feel like the gusts were that strong, but as you can see, it doesn't take much sometimes to bring down what can seem like very sturdy trees. This did land on a townhome unit. We're told by a neighbor that someone lives there, but luckily no one was inside at the time, so that's the good news. Now, Greensboro Fire Department did say there is significant roof damage to that unit, so whoever lives there, unfortunately, not going to be coming home to something they would want to see. But luckily, like I said, no one injured at this point, and neighbors told me that they really hope that that's the way this stays, that damage like this is few and far between, but the most important thing is that people continue to stay safe.
Glad everyone was safe. Thank you so much, Grace. We're going to check in with WFOY News 2's Amber Lake, who's also live in Greensboro with an update on businesses without power. Amber.
Hey guys, we're out here on Wendover Avenue off of Piedmont Parkway, where earlier today a tree fell on some power lines, causing a pretty large power outage in this area. In fact, all of these businesses behind me did not have power, but just moments ago, the power thankfully was was restored. And outages are starting to pop up more frequently, according to Duke Energy, and it's expected with the wind gusts that we've been seeing. Now, as Duke Energy worked to restore power in this area, we saw tree crews out here as well. Duke Energy told me they have about 11,000 workers across the state ready for this storm. 6,500 are line workers ready to restore power, and the rest are tree crews. Trees are a big issue in our area, so Duke Energy has to work closely with these companies after assessing the damage.
And then we'll coordinate with tree crews that are working in pods around the area. They can come in and then do the removal of the tree or whatever needs to be done. And at that point, then we will bring in either overhead crews that will repair the line. We may need to bring in digging crews that can come in and place new poles or work on underground lines.
Now, power outages remain a concern right now and into the night. And so if you have power now, make sure that you're charging your phones and anything else that needs to be charged just in case you lose power. NCDOT has said that they are also seeing very little issues today, that they're patrolling the area and they're ready to help when needed.
Amber, thank you. Triad cities want you to know who to call if you need to report down lines or trees in your community. Pull out your phone, take a picture of your screen here. If you're in Greensboro, call the city's contact center. That number is 336-373-2489. Winston-Salem officials recommend calling 331. They've enacted round-the-clock staff this weekend.
No doubt Duke Energy workers have been busy already. They have more than 5,000 linemen and women in our state ready to go. This is the current outage map in our area. Guilford County right now with just over 1,000 outages. Forsyth County down to less than 200. Alamance County 2,200 and Randolph is just under 1,000. As the winds pick up today, driving could become an issue.
We know driving in rain can increase your risk of crashing, but driving in heavy winds can be just as dangerous, even for the best drivers. It's best to stay off the road during gusty winds, but if you must be out and about, here's some safety rules to keep in mind.
The National Weather Service recommends the following. Keep both hands on the steering wheel and slow down. Stay alert. Watch for objects blowing across the roadway and into your path. Keep a safe distance from cars in adjacent lanes. Strong wind gusts could push a car outside of its lane of travel. Take extra care in high-profile vehicles like trucks, vans, SUVs, and trailers. The National Weather Service says these are more prone to be pushed or even flipped by high wind gusts. If the winds are too strong to drive safely, get to the shoulder of the road and stop.
If you have to stop your vehicle, make sure you stay away from trees or tall objects that could fall on your car. Stay in the car, turn on the hazard lights until the wind subsides.
Boy, it's pretty impressive how quickly conditions can change. Look at this live picture of Folly Beach right now. Some waves, really nothing that impressive though, and lots of people actually walking around on the beach at this point. Now this area is known as low country, so flooding inland is a big concern.
Ian arrives in South Carolina today with hurricane-force winds and heavy rain. The storm isn't packing the punch it had in Florida, but it's still a threat to lives and property.
I think we're going to see a lot of wind. We'll probably see a lot of rain.
In southwest Florida, the view from above shows the massive devastation Hurricane Ian inflicted on beach communities. Houses were ripped from their foundations, leaving people homeless and in shelters. Emergency responders from the Coast Guard, National Guard, and other search and rescue teams have conducted at least 700 rescues so far.
There are over 1,000 dedicated rescue personnel who are going up and down the coastline.
Sanibel Island suffered major damage. The only road in has been washed away.
Everything on Sanibel is destroyed, that's for sure.
The Strader family rode out the storm in Sanibel.
The wind was coming pretty hard.
I was praying a lot, a lot.
The family had to be rescued after the storm, but their pet tortoises, the reason they stayed behind, didn't survive. Intense winds and flooding are threatening the entire South Carolina coastline. Here on Folly Beach, some race to evacuate in the final hours before Ian hits.
I don't think it's going to get any better. Definitely going to get worse. We're on the beach, so I think it's time to head out.
North Carolina's governor reminded people not to take Ian lightly.
And remember, it was only 13 months ago that Tropical Storm Fred brought destruction and death to our mountains in western North Carolina.
The The southeast coast of South Carolina is known as low country, areas already prone to flooding. The storm surge there could be particularly devastating. Michael George, CBS News, Folly Beach, South Carolina.
And here is a live picture of that same beach that we just saw in that story. And you can see conditions have really improved. People walking around on the beach. Really, you can tell the waves being as calm as they are by looking at that pier off to the left-hand side. Kind of looks like a typical day at Folly Beach. Tim will have an update on the track of Ian and as it heads our way coming up.
Welcome back. You're taking a live look at High Point in radar. As you can see, it's a pretty gloomy day. Rain is on the way. It is just very cloudy out there, and you just want to stay off the roads if you can. Ian is expected to bring heavy wind and rain our way. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley will have a weather update coming up in a few.
Hurricane Ian recovery is underway in Florida, no doubt. They have confirmed 6 deaths there from the storm. Meantime, rescue teams are searching for anyone trapped in flooded homes or buildings.
There are over 1,000 dedicated rescue personnel who are going up and down the coastline.
Power is back on in some areas, but millions are still without electricity. Some believe cleanup could take months or longer. We know Ian's impact here won't be anything like what they saw in Florida, but power outages are a concern. If your power goes out, keep your fridge and freezer closed as long as possible. Ice in the fridge can actually help keep food longer. When the power does come back on, throw out any meat or dairy that's been in there longer than 4 hours. Also, get rid of any food that might have been in contact with flood water.
If your power goes out and you decide to use a generator, please be careful. Remember, generators shouldn't be used inside or an enclosed place. This means garages are a no-no. The unit should be at least 50 feet from the house. Also, direct the exhaust away from the unit so fumes can't be sucked into the house. Before we head to break, we want to take another live look. This is out at the North Carolina coast, where things here look to be pretty calm as well. The waves are moving, but they're not moving very feverishly. It looks to be pretty calm out there. We're not seeing anyone walking around, but again, it is pretty calm. We'll be right back.
Let's get to an update on power outages in our area. Among the big 3 counties in the Triad, Guilford has 1,200 outages. Forsyth, 165. Alamance, 2,200. Randolph also has quite a few outages right now at 1,800. Tim.
All right, thanks, Chad. I'm going to talk more about the hurricane here. We're looking at Hurricane Ian, still considered a hurricane. I'd imagine it weakens to a tropical storm rather quickly because right now it is over land. It officially made landfall in Georgetown, South Carolina earlier on. The worst weather right now in this storm is in Horry County, right there near Myrtle Beach, Horry County, northern part of the area, and Brunswick County, North Carolina. A lot of us in the Triad go to those beaches very frequently. They are having a tough time. A lot of issues with water coming up on the beaches, a lot of coastal flooding, and the gusty winds as well that you might expect. Here locally, conditions have been going downhill over the last hour. That will continue to happen. As of now, it finally does look, unfortunately, like a tropical storm when you step outside. The rain is getting heavier and more frequent. We do see a couple of breaks developing in Randolph and Chatham counties right now, but overall the heavy rain is going to continue. These are the constant winds, our sustained winds. They're at about 15 to 25 miles per hour, but the gusts have been closer to 40 miles per hour lately. The path on Ian, as I mentioned, it will be going directly overhead of Greensboro and the Triad later on this evening. And I expect the worst weather for us between about 6 and 12 this evening. Here's why. Notice those rotating bands, and the center of the storm is right about here on this map. This is around 11 o'clock. Then it'll be moving in. You see the swirling, spiraling motion of our arrows on that graphic. That's showing the storm center. And it should be over us right around midnight. The weird thing is when it gets level with us, the rain should start to shut off. The reason for that was we have a lot of dry air wrapping around the south side of the storm, so it's pretty front-loaded. Now the winds I mentioned, they have been pretty gusty. Those are live gusts right now in the 35 to 45 mile per hour range. That's why we've had some power outages. That number will probably go up until the winds settle down. Our model has been a little high on these winds, which is good news. So far, it's a little bit off by about 5 to 10 miles per hour. But even so, over the next little bit, we could see those 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts later on this evening. And then tomorrow morning, notice it's still breezy, but this is not dangerous wind anymore for Saturday. It's just a windy, kind of a blustery type of day. This is how I see it going through the rest of tonight and into tomorrow. The high wind and the heavy rain is with us through about midnight to 2 a.m. And then after that, the rain starts to slack off a bit. So does the wind, so that your Saturday is in better shape. In the meantime, we're going to keep on watching very carefully for scattered power outages. I do think the flood threat has gone down a little bit for our area because we haven't had a ton of rainfall yet. Rain totals so far have actually been less than 1 inch in many areas. We'll probably end up around 2 inches in most spots because we still have a lot of rain to go. That's your latest live view. You're really getting in on that heavy rain in Davidson County, Forsyth County, and Rockingham County. Just heard from one of our weather spotters who's driving from Winston to Rockingham. He says, Tim, it's real bad at this time to be on those roads. That's his word, not mine. Temperatures are in the 50s currently. It's cool outside, and that means we do not have a threat for tornadoes. That is good news. It's a different story in other parts of North Carolina where they've been dealing with higher levels of storms and worse tornado conditions, or harder conditions, I should say. As far as the rest of the storm for our area, we're going to be expecting gusty winds of 40 to 50 later on this evening. And again, winding down, getting into early tomorrow morning. That's where our area will start to finally improve. So if you have weekend plans, I actually think, you know, it's not nice weather per se, but it sure isn't dangerous. We're just looking at a scattered shower or two Saturday into Sunday.
Tim, thanks. Let's get another live look at some conditions out there. Tim has been telling us about how huge this storm is, kind of from one end to the other. This is a live picture off of Nags Head right now. As you know, Nags Head is one of the outermost points of the Outer Banks, hundreds of miles from the eye of this storm, and the waves are really kicking up in that area. We should expect this to continue for a while. We'll be right back. Social media is buzzing with videos and pictures of all of the devastation in Florida. One making its rounds is this video of people partying on a balcony while lightning strikes. Is it real? Let's verify.
Verify here with your fast fact. A video with more than 200,000 views on Twitter claims to show people partying as Hurricane Ian made landfall in Florida.
Something's on fire!
The clip features several people drinking as lightning strikes the ground, sparking a fire. So, let's verify. Was a video showing people on a balcony with drinks as lightning strikes taken during Hurricane Ian? These are our sources. Using Google Maps, we were able to find exactly where this video was taken in Fort Myers, Florida, which is near where Hurricane Ian made landfall. But it's an old video. Verify used reverse image search tool Revi, and we found it was posted to video sharing platform Imager 2 weeks ago. A slightly longer version of this video was posted to TikTok in late August, where it has 8 million views. So we can verify, no, a video showing people on a balcony with drinks as lightning strikes was not taken during Hurricane Ian. It was posted at least a month before the storm made landfall in Florida. With your Fast Fact, I'm Brandon Lewis.
And there are a lot of painful images coming from Florida right now. Many people are impacted by the damages, even if they live miles away. And if you're looking for ways to help victims, make sure you're watching out for scammers. Sadly, crisis situations oftentimes leads to increased reports of fraud. If you're looking to donate to Save the Red Cross, it's best to go directly to the organization's website. You should also stick with registered 501c3 groups. Those have proven records of success. Lastly, check in with your job. Sometimes employers offer gift matching programs to increase the impact. And one more thing, you can't open up your wallet. If you can't do that, you can always open up your heart. Posting online or encouraging others to be kind and give goes a long way. But before we head to the break, we want to check in and take another live look. Right now we have a camera out in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where you can see the wind is kicking up those waves there. We can see some of those raindrops on the camera. We'll have another check-in with Tim, our meteorologist, coming up.
Hey, can you hear me now? I'm double, triple taping it.
We are under the gun today as Ian approaches. This is a live look in Greensboro where a tree has fallen on a townhouse. We will get an update from the scene in just a minute.
Hundreds of people in the Triad are without power right now. Duke Energy has linemen ready to go. Stick with us for outage checks every 15 minutes.
And Ian did make landfall in South Carolina just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. This is a live look behind the storm in Folly Beach, where things are just starting to get back to normal. But here locally, things are getting worse.
Welcome back to your 4 to 5. I'm Chad Silver here with Lauren Coleman and Tim Buckley. As you can imagine, all eyes are on Ian. We are under several states of emergency at the state, the county, and the city level right now.
Ian is expected to bring heavy rains and winds to our area, some of which we're already seeing right now.
Yeah, you know, earlier today it really wasn't that bad across the area, but now things are starting to look and feel a lot more like a tropical storm is moving in. This is the wide view, and I think this is kind of helpful to kind of understand where we are in the progression of the storm. So you see the big swirling area, the Triad. We are up there at the top of your screen. The coast is down there, and now that swirl is the center, and it's moved onshore. So this is the second phase, and we're going to see those higher winds, which are at the center, and the heavier rain at the center, move our way. It's already been getting a little bit more gusty, let's say, in our area recently. The worst hit areas by far that I've seen in pictures and videos have been near Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island, Brunswick County too, dealing with really bad water and waves as well. Our local radar looks pretty busy at the moment. There are breaks though in the action. This is not a constant wall of water here. If you look near Asheboro, you actually don't have anything falling from the sky at the moment, just some sprinkles. So it comes in waves. Hurricanes seem like it should be raining all the time, but it still comes and goes. It's not constant. Here's one thing you don't have to worry about. I'll say it again. We're not getting tornadoes here. Even if it feels really windy outside, that has nothing to do with a tornado. It's just wind. The wind from the tornado threat is in eastern North Carolina, east of I-95 at the coast. That's where it's going to stay for today because we are pretty cold and our winds are coming in out of the north, just reinforcing that chilly air. These are our constant wind speeds, about 18 to 25 miles per hour. The gusts are much higher than that, about 35 to 40 miles per hour at this time, and the highest we've seen so far in our area have been about 43 mile per hour gusts. This Winston-Salem camera right now keeps getting bumped around in the breeze. You can see it shaking. That is the type of weather that we're dealing with, and that's what we're going to continue to see through about midnight tonight. Why do I think it'll continue to get a little bit worse? Well, look at the track. That's the storm center. It's coming right over Greensboro later on tonight, closer to that midnight hour. So until then, we'll have those on again, off again tropical downpours that will be packing a punch with the gusty winds. Now notice when the rain starts to go away. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, there's not much rain left. And there's not really severe weather left either. Saturday is fine to be out and about. But in the meantime, we're worried about these winds that could get as high as 40 to 50 miles per hour. They too start to go down after midnight. When you wake up tomorrow, the winds are pretty light, 15, maybe 20 mile per hour gusts. That's very doable. 7-day forecast shows your Saturday and Sunday are actually in pretty good shape. There will be clouds, there will be scattered showers, but those are things we can handle around here. We'll continue to have more updates on the radar throughout the newscast.
Tim, thank you. If there ever were a day where you shouldn't be without a way to get weather alerts, it's today. Download our free app so you know about any emergency situations. All right.
So right now we are tracking social media all over the internet. Just literally, I saw this post come up I want to show you a second ago. Things are still changing here in the Triad because of the storm. The High Point Farmers Market decided they're going to close tomorrow due to the weather, so you want to make sure to check the closings on our website often because things are evolving constantly. So right now, the storm really hitting South Carolina hard. Here's Myrtle Avenue. This is in Pawleys Island that Tim was talking about. You can see there's flooding throughout all of that neighborhood there and near whiteout conditions. It's really hard to see because of all the mist and rain in the air. Garden City, South Carolina, the storm surge coming up over that porch there. The force of that water, you can really feel it in that video. And we've got this right here, a water spout captured. This is in Morehead City. You can see that it's not just that flooding that's of concern there. We also have this storm surge from near Cape Fear River in Southport, North Carolina. You can see it is really starting to come up there the power again of those waves. It's really whipping the coast. Over on Ocean Island Beach, they are already seeing some flooding. It is starting to get up to some of the doors of those homes you see there. And in Charlotte, they've had a lot of strong winds from this storm so far, strong winds that are headed our way, ripping the awning right off this building in downtown. Winston-Salem Police and Fire Department do say they are ready for water rescues if that needs to happen, but they're asking you, please, if you see a flooded street, do not drive through it. You want to make sure to stay safe. And I also want to show you this right here. A big problem that we're going to face is going to be traffic lights out as electricity goes out across the area. So here's what you do. If you see it flashing red, treat it as a stop sign. If you see it flashing yellow, you want to go with caution. But if you see nothing at all, again, it is a stop sign.
Triad cities want you to know who to call if you need to report downed lines or trees in your community. Pull out your phone and take a picture of your screen. If you're in Greensboro, call the city's contact center. That number is 336-373-2489. Winston-Salem officials recommend calling 331. They've enacted round-the-clock staff this weekend.
As you can imagine, Duke Energy linemen and women are busy. They are all over the area. 5,000 crew members in our state that did not go to Florida. This is the current outage map. Among our 3 biggest counties, Guilford has 1,200 outages, Forsyth under 200, Alamance 4,200. Randolph also has quite a few outages at 1,900. As we all know, rain can make driving dangerous, but so can high winds.
We know driving in rain can increase your risk of crashing, but driving in heavy winds can be just as dangerous, even for the best drivers. It's best to stay off the road during gusty winds, but if you must be out and about, here's some safety rules to keep in mind.
The National Weather Service recommends the following. Keep both hands on the steering wheel and slow down. Stay alert. Watch for objects blowing across the roadway and into your path. Keep a safe distance from cars in adjacent lanes. Strong wind gusts could push a car outside of its lane of travel. Take extra care in high-profile vehicles like trucks, vans, SUVs, and trailers. The National Weather Service says these are more prone to be pushed or even flipped by high wind gusts. If the winds are too strong to drive safely, get to the shoulder of the road and stop.
If you have to stop your vehicle, make sure you stay away from trees or tall objects that could fall on your car. Stay in the car, turn on the hazard lights until the wind subsides.
She got out of that car quickly.
Yeah, fast.
Back here in the other studio. You know, we're talking about these winds, and Tim, I know that's one of the big threats here.
Sure, and you know, you've been around when it's windy outside driving your vehicle. A lot of people are asking, you know, why does school need to not be out and about? Think about a school bus. It's very different than driving your sedan or something. They have a big profile. That wind could really blow them around in a pretty easy way. And you know, we see that with tractor trailers, we see it with other bigger vehicles, and it's really those constant winds. You know, we get gusts here and there, but we've seen already winds constant at 20 to 30 miles per hour. So it's that steady pushing, and if you get an extra gust, it could just topple it, you know, one more time.
So it's definitely best to just stay off the roads if you definitely don't need to be out today.
Yeah, if you can. I think right now, you know, is probably the best that it'll be for the rest of the night. It's still not great outside, but it'll continue to kind of go downhill as we go into the rest of the evening. These are your current wind gusts, which again, we've seen this before, but when you deal with this for 6 to 8 hours or so, it kind of takes a toll. That's why we already have trees down there. We already have some power outages in the thousands. 30 to 40 gusts now. I think they'll get a little worse later on. Around 40 to 50 could be about the tops that we see in our area. And it really seems to peak between about 8 p.m. and midnight. And that'll be when we kind of see things subside and go down the other side. So if you can kind of get home and have a nice night at home with the fam or whatever you want to do, that'll be a good Friday night option for today.
All right, keep safe, everybody. High winds, they can do just as much damage as heavy rain. We have seen windy days cause lots of power outages. If your power goes out, keep your fridge and freezer closed as long as possible. Ice in the fridge can actually help keep food longer. When the power comes back on, throw out any meat or dairy that's been in there longer than 4 hours. Also, get rid of any food that might have been in contact with flood water.
If your power goes out and you decide to use a generator, please be careful. Remember, generators shouldn't be used inside or in an enclosed space. This means your garage, it's a no-no. The unit should be at least 50 feet from the house. Also, direct the exhaust away from the unit so fumes can't be sucked into the house.
People in Florida are starting to clean up. They have confirmed 6 deaths there from the storm. Meantime, rescue teams are searching for anyone trapped in flooded homes or buildings.
There are over 1,000 dedicated rescue personnel who are going up and down the coastline.
Power is back on in some areas, but millions are still without electricity. Some believe cleanup could take months or longer.
And in just a few minutes, you'll hear from a Burlington church who recently had a former member of their congregation move to the Fort Myers area and how they're looking to help the family out. That's coming.
All right, let's get an update on some power outages in our area. They've been fluctuating quite a bit. This is our current outage map. Among the 3 biggest counties, Guilford has 1,200 outages, Forsyth now up to just under 1,000, and Alamance County has 4,300 people without power. Randolph also has quite a few right now, just over 2,000 people without power.
In Burlington, one church is urging the community to support those left with nothing after Hurricane Ian left the Fort Myers area submerged in water. WFNY News 2's Jalen Gilkey learned about the church's connection to some of the newest residents of Southwest Florida.
Donnie Collins and his family of 5 moved to the Fort Myers area just a week ago. 6 days later, one of the strongest hurricanes the state has ever seen has devastated the place they now call home. Back here in the Triad, Donnie's parents and their church family came together to collect supplies and goods for those left with nothing in wake of Hurricane Ian.
We were thinking, what can we do to help? And so my husband talked to the pastor, and pastor offered to pay for the U-Haul, and my husband's going to drive it, but we need to fill it. So what we're looking for is some donations. to fill the truck. They have nothing. The stores are closed. There's no power.
So far. But,
yeah,
they're hoping to get power back soon. But there were so many people impacted, they're going to need it. They're going to need whatever they can get.
So starting on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the McCauley family and the World of Pentecost Church in Burlington are looking for the community to come together and fill this U-Haul with disaster relief supplies for the people of the Fort Myers area.
And to see some of the pictures that was coming out of Fort Myers area, and I'm saying, man, I can't imagine trying to live through that and operate through that. And then to wake up and lose everything you've got, it's just horrible. And I thought, what can we do as a church?
The goal is for tomorrow's drive is to collect as much stuff as possible. The World of Pentecost has to get a second truck, and that after the last donation, is made tomorrow evening, Doug McCauley is set to drive the U-Haul down to Fort Myers himself.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, we've all moved before. Imagine, that first week that you have lived somewhere is crucial to getting yourself established with so many things. I can't imagine dealing with a hurricane on top of it.
Yeah, you've planned all this out, and then it's like you have to start from, round one. But it's great to see so many organizations and churches coming together to help our neighbors down in Florida.
I couldn't imagine just having my entire life turned upside down, not only by the storm, but how inconvenient a move is, right? Already, and how much of a hassle it is. They've got 4 lovely children as well. So it's unreal and unimaginable just to think of what these families and the people of Fort Myers and all of Southwest Florida are dealing with.
That's great. So they've got this truck. They're going to drive it down there. They want to fill this sucker up, and they want to get enough supplies to fill another truck.
That's the
Hopefully
goal.
they got another driver on standby so they can make a little caravan out of it.
That's the goal, man. And it's just like I said, Mr. McCauley was saying, they're looking for anything disaster relief related, whether that be tarps, clothing, toiletries, whatever that you feel and is put on your heart to give. They're looking to accept it.
Great story. And there are a lot of painful images coming from Florida right now. Many people are impacted by the damages, even if they live miles away. If you're looking for ways to help victims, make sure you're watching out for scammers as well, because sadly, when crisis occurs, oftentimes it leads to increased reports of fraud. And if you're looking to donate to, say, the Red Cross, it's best to go directly to the organization's website. You should also stick with registered 501c3 groups. Those have proven records of success. Lastly, check in with your job. Sometimes employers offer gift matching programs to increase the impact. And one more thing, if you can't open up your wallet, remember you can always open up your heart. Posting online and encouraging others to be kind and give always goes a long way. But before we head to the break, we want to take another live look. This is out at Cape Hatteras out in North Carolina, where these waves, they are whipping pretty high here. The sky, we have a gray overcast. Again, we're keeping a close eye on this storm. Tim Buckley will have an update in the next few minutes.
Over the past hour, we have been providing some power outage updates for you, and this is so you can be informed about your area, but also other areas in the Triad where you might have family or friends living. So right now, if you look at the outage map, among the three biggest counties here, Guilford has 1,200 outages, Forsyth just under 1,000. Alamance County really is the big winner here at 4,900 outages. Randolph also has quite a few at 2,100 people without power. Tim.
Yeah, they're really starting to go up, Chad. And, if you look at the whole of the Carolinas now, there are a couple of 100,000 people without power north and south. New numbers on Ian. The winds are currently at 70 miles per hour. This brings it down from hurricane status. This is a bit academic here, but they're actually no longer considering it a tropical system. As it moves inland, it's kind of away from its water source, and they're going to consider it a post-tropical low. You don't need to worry about that. It doesn't impact our forecast whatsoever. We're still expecting gusty winds to continue through the rest of the evening. In just the last couple of hours, or really the last 90 minutes, I've started to get a lot more pictures from folks of a downed tree here or there. It seems like the winds are starting to take a little bit more of a toll, unfortunately, on our area. The center of the storm is still swirling. It's right here just north of Myrtle Beach right now. It's going to be moving closer to Tabor City and then Lumberton and places like the city of Rockingham, North Carolina. That's going to be coming up the gut. And then for us, we're going to watch it kind of move right up to 20, closer to Troy, then Asheboro, then Greensboro later on this evening. This is our latest radar. Notice it is not a constant swath of rain. Instead, you have some downpours and you have some breaks. There are a lot of rain, of course, but we do have breaks in the action now from Siler City to Asheboro, a little chance to catch your breath, but plenty of rain in the foothills over Yadkin County and Surrey County where it hasn't been quite as windy. You're still getting the rain. These are your current wind speeds. So there's a difference between a wind speed and a wind gust. A speed is constant. These are your constant winds, which have been about 20 to 30 miles per hour at the worst. The gusts are here, gusting around 40 to 35 miles per hour at this time. That could still get a little worse. And I want to show you this picture for a couple of seconds here. This is our Winston-Salem live camera. We've been watching it bounce a bit in the breeze. You might be able to see that here along with me. It's moving quite a bit. Of course, it's on a tall building, but there are these winds pushing it around. And don't forget, the air is just cold today. We're in the mid-50s. We haven't had a day quite this chilly since way back in the spring. That cool air is doing us a favor. It makes it really impossible for us to have any tornadoes. And no matter how windy it gets at your house, we are not going to have a tornado today or tonight. It's just not going to happen. Friends and family in eastern North Carolina, that's a different story. Here's your planner. We go to about 8 o'clock tonight. Really heavy rain moving through at times. On again, off again, as we said. That'll continue through about midnight. And then after that, we start to kind of peak and go downhill. Or I should say we get better at that point. That's when things get more scattered, and scattered showers will still be with us over the weekend. But this is your Saturday. It's not severe. We have gusty winds, but nothing too bad. We have some clouds. No one cares about that. The weather will not be severe for tomorrow. Things will be improving. Now the winds, as I said, they will be bad this evening, gusting between 35 and at times maybe as high as 50 miles per hour. That'll continue, but it'll get better tomorrow morning as well. So this is not an all weekend event as it once looked several days ago. Rain totals have a ways to go. I'm happy to see this, I guess. We could use some more rainfall though. It's been dry over recent weeks. We're less than an inch so far. That rain forecast is not going to be as high as 4 inches. Could we still get 1 to 2? Yeah, that's possible, but a couple breaks in the action have meant our numbers are lower. There's no flood risk for tomorrow. As I said, going forward in the forecast, it's cool. It stays cool for a couple of days. Could be a scattered shower here or there for Saturday and Sunday, but no reason that you need to be shut in the house this weekend. The weather will not be dangerous to be outside.
All right, Tim, thanks. Let's get another live look at conditions along our coast. This is a live picture off Ocracoke Island in the Outer Banks. You can see in the foreground here the Ride the Wind surf shop. Tim, people might be wondering, well, the Outer Banks so far from South Carolina, how is the storm impacting this area? But you said this is a huge storm.
It's a big storm. It has a big wind field. It extends a couple hundred miles. And, one thing you might not think about is when wind is rushing over water, there's no friction. There's nothing to slow it down, so it stays faster. When it moves over land, it has friction and it slows down a bit more. So you do tend to get these gustier winds right at the beach.
And do you anticipate conditions getting worse at the Outer Banks or staying about this?
The main concern for the Outer Banks is really that coastal overwash that we talk about. That means flooding. Storm surge flooding. I know crews have been monitoring Highway 12. They've been building up the dunes for a couple of days. They're going to want to make sure that that ocean stays where it is, but it will get a couple feet higher than usual.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tim. And thank you for joining us. We will be right back.
One, two, three, and make sure your home's carbon monoxide alarms are installed and up to date with fresh.
This is a mic check for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Hi, we're getting ready to talk about 5 o'clock social pictures.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. It's windy, it's raining, it's cold, it's gross, black.
Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check. Mic check.
Ian is back on shore after making landfall in South Carolina. The remnants heading our way. Winds and rain picking up. The worst expected over the next several hours.
State of emergencies are in effect for Guilford County, Greensboro, and Winston-Salem as the Triad prepares for some nasty weather.
Gusty winds